Welcome to another episode of Route 139. We're traveling together on this journey, and we've been talking about bridging gaps in the Coptic American cultures. Well, we talked last time about the different subcultures in Egypt and how we all come together, and we have churches here where all these subcultures now are in one location. Today we're going to get into more depth about adaptation, the Coptic American or the Coptic adaptation here in America. We have with us today a wonderful panel led by His Grace Bishop Yusuf, the Bishop of the Diocese of Southern United States. We also have with us Tina, and we have her husband Rami, and we also have Reda. And on this side we have Peter, and returning with us again is also Eva. We're going to talk today, Your Grace, about adaptation. I'd like to know, how is it that we adapt? And we're always in a state of adaptation. Whether we came when we were youngsters, whether we came when we were a little bit older, came as parents, and so forth. What's the best way that we can adapt to the American cultures, and what are some of the challenges of these adaptations?
Actually, many psychologists studied adaptation of immigrants to a new culture. And they said that the person goes through 4 stages. And if he's aware of these 4 stages, to make the transition from one stage to another stage, then actually at the end he will be fully adapted to the new culture. And the first stage, they call it honeymoon stage. The stage, if I have a dream to immigrate to America, once I get my visa or I got my green card, I feel that's the beginning of honeymoon. All my problems are resolved, everything is wonderful. So that's the first stage. But unfortunately, the honeymoon does not last very long. It can last just for a few hours. And then actually, they will be shocked with the reality. They will face more challenges, I don't call more problems. If, for example, if they are educated in Egypt, they have degree medicine or engineering, they come here and their degree is not considered a degree. They have to start from the beginning. They come here, they find challenges in everything. The system is totally different. And this is actually the beginning of the second stage, which is called hostility stage. They find everything is working against them. Even the English we learn in Egypt is British English. So when I come here, many times actually I don't understand the American accent. And how the way they pronounce. And for many new immigrants, actually, just to pick up a phone, this is a big challenge, because maybe they will not understand the other person, And unfortunately, some people, they are stuck in the hostility stage the rest of their life. But if they actually start to learn about the culture, and we have actually, we prepared a booklet called Dalil al-Muhajir al-Jadid, the guideline for the newcomer, to help them learn about the culture and to make it easy for the newcomers actually how to for example, apply for Social Security, to understand the education system here, etc., etc. So the church here has a role actually to help the immigrants moving from the second stage to the third stage.
Can I ask you, Grace, a quick question? Before we get into the third stage, and is this pamphlet, is this given to the new families as they arrive, or do they get this from Egypt, or where do they get this information?
Actually, in many of our churches, they actually do like orientation for the newcomers, and there is a newcomer committee and help them, and also it is on the website, so they can find it on the website. So we put it in electronic way, and also they can get it from their churches. If they pass through this stage, well, they will. This will lead actually to the third stage, which actually is called humor stage. Humor means when actually you feel relaxed and you start feel easy to speak about your cultural and language mistakes and to laugh about them. That's why they call it humor. At the beginning, I feel, I'm the only one who did this mistake. So actually, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed of the cultural or language mistake. I don't want to share it with anybody. But once I relax and I start adapting the culture, so I start to share my even personal story. When I came here in America 15 years ago, this happened to me, That's why they call it humor stage. Many people, when they reach humor stage, they feel they fully adapted. Now they are functioning, they have work, they bought a house or whatever. But there is actually another stage. Many people remain in the humor stage, but they still feel that their home is Egypt or Sudan or not America here. So the last stage is called home stage, when actually the meaning of home expand to include my original culture and the new culture. So I will not say we have in Egypt, but they have in America. If I'm still using this language, we have in Egypt, but they have in America, this means I did not move to the home stage. But once I start speaking, we have in America here, and we have in Egypt too, then actually I made this transition into the home stage. So these are the 4 stages of adaptation, and I'm sure maybe you experienced these 4 stages when you came here to America, especially those who came in youth or their teens.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Your Grace. I know for Rami and I, because we came at the age of 9 years old, a lot of the integration in that second phase where you feel a lot of conflicts and issues, we felt really came from our own culture, our own welcoming circle, and that it's like you have to be initiated to be accepted as circle, that you're Americanized enough for us to consider you. Otherwise, you're labeled as the fresh out of the boat. You're the immigrants coming. But you're definitely absolutely correct. That criteria, once you build enough grounds of strengths and understand that culture, understand their language, we're able to talk and relate with them.
So is the language barrier, you think, the first step into this initiation?
For us, especially for the youth of young kids that's coming in, the biggest thing is to relate to what is the standards of the circle, what kind of clothes you wear. In Egypt, we're accustomed maybe short shorts.
Right.
We don't have those long shorts. Our hair is longer, and we have thick glasses. Our shirt colors are not the most coordinated. So it's an easy thing to pick and target on us. And we're taught, somebody hit you, somebody say something wrong, say God forgive you. It doesn't work that well in the U.S. for you just to say God forgive you. You'll just get slapped.
Yeah.
Rami and I, for the first year, we got beat up a lot. We were running a lot.
But at church or at school?
In both places.
Oh.
So we really you have to learn how to balance that. And that's the part that we want your guidance in, is how do you learn to accept some of the cultural differences, build that character to not lose your balance, because we don't want to lose the value of the Christian moral of saying, you know what, I'm not going to slap back and hit back. And I know now as a servant in the church, I have kids who are facing the same issues. I try to relate to them, the same problems, and it's difficult. How do I tell them, you want to gain respect, you don't want to be perceived weak, because in the U.S., that perception only allows them to take more advantage of you. And at the same time, you don't want to go to the other extreme where you're not, showing the Christian values of how we can win somebody over and the right way to do it. And that's, I know, something I struggle at sometimes.
And the answer to this question actually is the difference between being assertive and being aggressive. We are not called to be aggressive, but assertive, as you said, how to set a clear boundary, for a person who is taking advantage of me, to tell him this is not acceptable, and to be able actually to stop him right there. And in a previous episode, I spoke about how the Lord Jesus Christ was able to set a boundary with the person who slapped him on the face. And he told him, if I said something wrong, point it out. What did I say wrong? And this is actually, parents and church should train their children how to be assertive and not to encourage negative behavior from others or taking advantage of them or as you said, presenting themselves as weak. Because Christ actually taught us to be strong. St. John said, I wrote to you, youth, because you are strong and the word of God abiding in you. St. Paul said, God did not give us spirit of timidity, but he gave us spirit of might and victory. So the children of God are powerful.
I agree with you, Grace. And there's one quote that I always like, and I try to relate to my kids in Sunday school. You're not known for what you compromise in, but you are respected for what you stand for. And it's something that is difficult sometimes as a little child or going through the teenagers, and with all the peer pressure and with all the media to understand that concept. But I always tell them, if you stand hold to your values, if you say, I'm going to honor my fasting, although at lunch cafeteria everybody has a pizza and a milk, it's so easy to kind of lay down and just say, I'm enjoying that crowd. But if you stand to your value, eventually one or two people are going to come and ask you why. And if you give them the reasons, but you have to believe in it. You can't sell something if you don't believe in it. So that's where I think the fundamentals is that if you believe in it and you see the value in it, then you automatically are going to want to share it with others. And when others see that glory in your eyes and your face, they automatically kind of just take from that energy, and it just feeds. And I know that Rhea and I, elementary school stage, we were just, like you said, the first stage, we're happy, and then real quickly it turned black on us. And then real quickly we realized in middle school, after a lot of mistakes and getting some guidance, we realized, the fighting back and trying to beat them in the same level didn't do anything for us. So when we got to high school stage, we got wiser. People understood who we were. They respected us for who we stand for and what we did. And it was smooth. It was nice. You enjoyed who you are. And so like you said, the humor stage right now, we can sit back and laugh all day and how we used to get picked on and what clothes we wore. But you're absolutely true. It is a stage, and it's just the knowledge piece. I think our church is responsible for giving to our young kids.
And to add to that, one point that we see it a lot nowadays too is when youth come, like more of teenagers come from Egypt or whatever to here, they try to adapt, and sometimes if they don't have the right resources, they adapt wrongly. Like they will pick, like as we were saying earlier, like become dress in a certain way to belong to that certain group, or do their haircut in a specific way that they can just fit in. And mostly not to fit in inside the church, more on to fit in outside the church. And it starts slowly, but start getting them slowly out, and then they become not who they are meant to become, and it kind of eats them inside out.
And here just I want to say a comment. If I'm in a church and I see one of the new comers, youth, coming to the church with a different haircut that I'm not accustomed to it, and instead of just starting by judging him, even in my mind, he's a bad boy, why he is dressing this way, why he has his haircut in this way, etc. Maybe just he needs more compassion, more understanding that he is trying to fit in the culture, try to adapt in the culture. Of course, I'm not encouraging, these haircuts, or I'm not, or this different way of dressing, not respecting the house of God. I'm not. But I'm trying to say, instead of just looking at these people, bad people came here to the church, they influence our children, they will do this. No, just maybe this child, just with a hug and love and kindness and compassion and acceptance, this actually will make him comfortable. He feel he's home in the church, he's home in the culture. And by doing this, actually, by himself, he doesn't need to keep, this haircut. He doesn't need to keep this style of dressing, because I see many of us actually hold judgment against this youth while they are struggling to find their place and their
drive them
homes.
further.
Yes,
Drive them
exactly.
away more, and they're like, you know what? They're not gonna accept me, or they do not understand me.
Exactly.
I still need to develop to become this and this, and they tend to leave. Versus if they come, you can either guide them. Like what I learned from being here, I actually, when I approach them, I try not to be judgmental, which I don't, of course, but I try to actually make it as a fun or like not, I'm not gonna say a joke about it, but something like, oh, what happened, and I kind of make a silly comment about it, and then let them open up and say, oh well, this and this. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a stress related, or you know, it's something that he's going through in school that one of his friends told him, just do this or do that, and I felt like approaching it in a way like that helps them open up a little bit more. But this is something I've seen a lot, and a lot of the youth, unfortunately, they
To try to decrease the tension a little bit and to.
they tend to leave just because if they walk in and they dress in something or act in a specific way or talk in a specific way that they feel like
That they're
I'm not part
rejected.
of this
Yeah.
group anymore, and they tend to leave.
And they're like, yeah, if you don't want me, well, I don't want you either. And, you know, you start to grow farther apart.
I kind of agree with that because I had a similar experience. I left Egypt when I was 14 years old, and I came here by myself. And
Oh.
so I had finished 9th grade in Egypt, so I came here, went to high school, and that was 22 years ago. And that was a very tough stage because I was thrown into high school, which is a very, you know, I'm still shaping my personality.
Sure.
You know, I'm still trying to adapt the English barrier, the cultural barrier. Everything was just working against me. And I just went through a lot of stress and psychological stress, and it's really nice that the church has like an onboarding document or a pamphlet that helps the newcomers. But I have a quick question regarding psychological support. What can the Coptic Church offer as a psychological support? Because you need that pat in the back saying, you know what, you're not the only one. We're here to help you. It's okay. We understand it's hard. And I feel that that kind of support differs from one church to the other. And does the church plan on uniting that system, that onboarding system, where if I'm in Egypt, do I have to now pick a certain church in the US because they offer more support than others, or we're all on the same page? And I've heard many comments, you know, sometimes in a smaller church you will get more support versus a bigger church, even though the finances in a bigger church would be more available, but just you can get lost among hundreds and thousands of people. So does the church plan on uniting that system where it doesn't really matter what church I pick or what state I pick? It should be the same service that I get, whether I'm in New York, whether I'm in Florida. So can you please touch on also the psychological, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Many of the immigrants, they don't need financial support. They can take care of this, but actually they are looking for psychological support, emotional support, spiritual support. So actually, when they come and, for example, in the first week or 2 weeks, actually, they find Abuna visiting them, Sunday school servant is calling them and paying them a visit. Actually, I heard something about a church doing welcoming back. You know, when they see, you know, a person coming for the first time to the church, they give him welcome bag, you know, with some pamphlet and a small gift from the church. You know, it's a very, very nice idea to feel, you know, they recognize it that I'm new here and somebody actually has welcomed me and give me this. And actually it is what you said, it's very, very true. Usually in big churches, in a church that has 600 families or 1,000 family, sometimes when I enter, you know, nobody can even recognize or acknowledge that I am new here. Maybe it will take 6 or months or 8 months to know that I'm new here. Unless if I go and approach Abuna and tell him I'm new here, maybe nobody will feel me. That's why people feel in small churches, you know, he will be noticed from the first visit. People will notice him and welcome him, and actually small churches, they are eager for their church to grow. So when they find you know, a new person here, they really welcome him because they want to keep him, they don't want to lose him. And that's why, you know, in the southern diocese here, I strongly believe that any church should not be more than 200 families, you know. And actually, we asked His Holiness Pope Shenouda, and he said this is the best number for you know, a church be more than 200 or 250 at maximum. People will feel, they know each other. Abuna will be able to recognize everybody and to help them. And I hope, as you said, this will not be in a certain church, but not the other church, but all churches will have the same system. So whether, as I said, I go to New York or Florida or Texas or Arizona or California, I feel the same system and the same welcoming. And we started last year to have a meeting for all bishops in North America to unify work across North America, and Canada actually included with us. So this point will be, and actually there is a committee among us about the newcomers. We share our experience together and we exchange our, experience in every diocese, and we learn from each other.
Thank you.
We didn't hear from you yet, Tina. I know you have a lot of
been talking.
a lot of
No, I
thoughts.
think everybody really touched. I'm really glad that Sedna said in the beginning that the church has a role in not only in education, but the support, and that's what keeps the parent moving on. Because I can personally understand how difficult it is for a parent to leave everything that they've had and start all over. So I think if one thing that we should give as a church is to take that bitterness away, so they don't have to, every time their child comes and they want something or they want to move forward in school, they just sit and say, well, in Egypt I used to have that, or I used to walk by the Nile, very long walks, and Nil Hawa, and everything was so nice. But I think the more support as a church we give for these parents, the more the kids will move forward. They themselves will move forward. But that's all I have to say.
That's great. Well, that experience that Grace had mentioned about the welcome bag, when we moved to Pennsylvania, we stayed there for a few years, that actually happened with us. And first I thought it was just a prank and somebody's going to come and rob us. But they called up and they said, well, we're the welcome committee. And I said, yeah, right. And so, but then my neighbor said, no, that these are real people and they're legitimate. And so I welcomed them, and they came and they brought a little bag of things and some coupons and things. And until this day, when I think of our experience in that state, I think with very fond memories. And I always had this in the back of my mind. I'm glad that people are still doing it. We're going to wrap things up for you tonight, but you as our American, our English-speaking audience, think of ways, invite people that are new to go out to lunch with you or some other activities that you're all doing. If you're going to see a basketball game and so forth, bring people into your lives, invite yourself into their lives, as we are all one community. I'll tell you a little small poem before we cut off. If we cut off, then I'll have to share it another time. It's a little poem I learned a long time ago. Father, mother, and me, sister and auntie say, all the people like us are we and everyone else is they. And they live over the sea while we live over the way. But would you believe it? They look upon we as only a sort of they. So let's think of ourselves as we, and we are all the children of God. See you next time on Route 139.